Tennessee and Kentucky filed lawsuits against the Biden administration state tax policy. In this video, we will look at the facts of the lawsuit, the American Rescue Plan, and what could possibly happen as an outcome. As always, the articles will be linked in the description. Without further ado, let's jump right into it. Nashville's Attorney General Herbert H. Saltry III, that's a mouthful, today joined Kentucky Attorney General Daniel Cameron in a lawsuit challenging a mandate from the Biden administration in the American Rescue Plan Act, also known as the Act. Jump down here. The American Rescue Plan Act was passed by Congress and signed into law on March 11th, 2021. Of nearly $2 trillion included in that act, approximately $200 billion will assist state governments with COVID relief, but as a condition of receiving aid, the act requires states to comply with a tax mandate that prevents them from lowering taxes for its citizens for 4 years. So, to break that down, everyone knows what's been going on with, everything past year, and obviously a lot of people have been hurt. So the federal government just passed this bill to give money to the states so they can supply that to their citizens, and they can distribute it to help them out. Sounds great, but this is where we run into the danger of bills. But but it requires those states to comply with a tax mandate the federal government sets. Meaning states wouldn't have the ability to choose or regulate their taxes, and this is what sparked the lawsuit from these two states, because the whole reason you have a state government is to set taxes, because every state is different than Florida's different than California is different than New York's different than Nebraska, exports, import, all that stuff. So the government the federal government starting to overrule that is like them trying to expand into that, because they have no business in the federal government. The federal government is no different than a business. It has its own priorities ahead of itself, while a state government has its own priorities ahead of itself, but those are more catered towards the people of that general population. So, continuing on with the article, the states have constitutional right to implement their own tax policy. Like I said before, states have the right to tax their own people however they want. That's why we elect our state government, our state governors, attorney generals, all that, literally for that reason, and to set rules and laws. But taxing is a big reason too. Said General Saltry, we should not have to choose between accepting COVID-19 relief funds or surrendering to Washington's attempt to override what only our elected officials in Tennessee are authorized to do. Right. So, we shouldn't, especially in America, since we're all one, we shouldn't have to choose between giving up our freedoms from the Constitution or receiving help. That's kind of unfair and kind of backwards too when you look at it. That's the whole reason why we elect our officials in the state, is to, they know how much they should tax us, not the federal government. The federal government is the main whole, 50 states. State taxes that one state. They know their imports, their exports. They know where they make their money. Continuing on, Kentuckians expect the state tax policies to be set by men and women they elect to represent them in General Assembly, and not as a result of an edict from the federal government, says Attorney General Cameron. These COVID relief funds are essential to helping the Commonwealth and hardworking Kentuckians recover from the effects of the pandemic, and it is unconstitutional for the Biden administration to hold funds hostage if we don't agree to Washington's preferred tax policies. I'm proud to join the Attorney General Saltry to push back against the federal overreach in its worst form. Yeah, so they're kind of catching the federal government trying to expand too much. I'm not saying that the federal government expanding is a good thing, but this is a clear them trying to take control of pretty much state governments. You take away their right to tax and stuff like that, where's their they're literally they have to bend over backwards for you now, and that's how corruption can happen very fast. So yeah, it's best that states, we listen to the Constitution. It's been working really well for a lot of time. People are but in minimizing the federal government. So this is what they're kind of pushing back from. The Attorney General, in the lawsuit that requires states to acquiesce to sweeping tax mandate, is an unprecedented power grab by the federal government at a time when elected officials should be singularly focused on helping their constituents overcome the devastating effects of the pandemic. Sovereign's authority by coercing them into making policy choices that bear majority of Congress prefers, and strictly partisan majority that, without regarding for the citizens of the state or the leaders they elect. Right, so we're obviously, this isn't really a strange time. The main focus would be to get us past this, not trying to grab, not to use this as a opportunity to grab more power. Because like I stated before, if you expand your government, the federal government, and it keeps growing and growing, that normally leads to communism or something, or which isn't a good thing. And basically, these governors are basically suing for their their constitutional rights to get that power back to the state government, which I 100% agree with. Tennessee expects to receive about $3.7 billion under that act, more than 1/5 of Tennessee's annual general revenue. Yeah, that is a lot of money to help out, and you can see that. You almost want to, like, if you look at a big picture, it's almost looking like they're bribing them. Like, here, we'll throw money at you guys, but in return, you got to give us power. Which, that it's a good thing. It's a good thing they're not Kentucky or Tennessee at least are not taking the bait on this. In March, a coalition of Attorney Generals sent a letter to Secretary Yellen urging her clarification on a tax mandate and asking the Treasury to adopt a more sensible interpretation of the mandate's language. Secretary Yellen's response did not provide clarity about relief funds to directly offset a reduction in tax revenue. Yeah, so anytime you asked for something and they give you back a unclear answer, that normally means you caught them, or they don't want to, they're trying to twist their words or anything like that. So good for Kentucky and good for Tennessee catching this. Without this necessary clarity, Attorney General is concerned that the broad, ambiguous scope of the tax mandate has likely a foreseeable effect of chilling almost any legislative action by the states that can affect tax revenue. All right, you give away you take the state's ability to tax and you give it to the federal government. Money is basically corruption. People always want more money. You can do more with more money. The only way that state now, in that hypothetical sense, can raise its taxes, lower it, whatever they want to do, is they got to go to the federal government. And that can lead to a lot of, and that can also lead to the government like saying, hey, if you guys don't do this, we're going to raise taxes. And that's kind of scary. And, I hope that doesn't happen. I hope they win this lawsuit. Because, like I stated this before, bills, they sound great on the headlines or whatever. You read, Tennessee's about to get $3.7 billion. All right. But at what cost? This is why, you should always look into every single story. But I'm just going to cover this article today. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe, share it to someone who maybe would be interested in this or just hasn't heard, because this is kind of like on a story on the back burner. which I feel like it should kind of be a little bit more explained and be a little bit more mainstream, because that's actually kind of scary. Federal government trying to expand, take away a state's ability to tax. So leave any comments, leave any other news stories you want me to cover that are kind of on the down low, on the back burner. I just thought this one was kind of a cool one to point out. And as always, have a great day.